Food prices have already risen 30% in the last 4 years. Eggs doubled. Cooking oil doubled. Meat is approaching luxury pricing in some parts of this country. And every economist watching the supply chains right now is saying the same thing. This is not over. The people who will feel it the least are not the ones with the biggest bank accounts. They are the ones who already put food in the ground. Because here is what the grocery store does not want you to think about. Every dollar of food you grow yourself is a dollar that never gets touched by inflation, ever. Today, I am giving you 10 crops to plant right now, before the next price spike hits, that will cut your grocery bill, feed your family through uncertainty, and keep producing year after year, whether prices go up or not. Hit subscribe right now, because by the time most people realize they should have started a garden 2 years ago, yours will already be feeding you. Let's get into it. Welcome to Nature and Green Focus, the channel where we uncover the food-growing knowledge that corporations buried and your grandparents already knew. If you believe that real food security starts in your own backyard, not in a government program, not in a supply chain, not in a grocery store, you're in exactly the right place. Drop a comment right now telling me what food item on your grocery receipt has shocked you the most in the last year. Because I guarantee something on this list grows where you live and costs almost nothing to produce yourself. Now, 10 crops. Let's go. Number 10, garlic, the $12 per pound crop you can grow for pennies. Walk into any grocery store right now and quality garlic is running $8 to $12 a pound for organic. Hardneck varieties, the ones with real flavor, are even more, and that price has not stopped climbing. Here is what nobody tells you at the checkout line. Garlic is one of the easiest crops in the home garden. You plant individual cloves in fall, October or November in most of North America, and you do nothing until June or July when you pull full bulbs out of the ground. That is it. No pest spray, no fertilizer beyond basic compost, no complicated timing. 1 pound of seed garlic, which costs $10 to $15 from a reputable supplier, produces 8 to 10 pounds of bulbs at harvest. That's an 8 to 10 times return on your investment in under a year from a crop that stores for 6 to 12 months without refrigeration. But here is the part most people miss. You do not have to buy seed garlic every year. You save your largest, best-formed bulbs at harvest, replant the biggest cloves each fall, and your seed stock improves every single generation. Plant once correctly, and you are never buying garlic seed again. Hardneck varieties, rocambole, purple stripe, porcelain, produce the complex layered flavor that grocery store softneck garlic cannot match. They also produce scapes in early summer, the curling green shoots that emerge before the bulb matures, which are edible, delicious, and worth $4 to $6 a bunch at any farmer's market. You are getting 2 harvests from 1 planting, scapes in June, bulbs in July. Garlic is also a powerful natural antimicrobial, antiviral, and immune-supporting food. In a world where healthcare costs are rising alongside food costs, that is not a footnote. Growing notes. Plant clothes pointed up, 2 inches deep, 6 inches apart, in well-drained soil with full sun. Mulch heavily with straw after planting. Harvest when the lower third of the leaves have yellowed and dried. Cure for 3 to 4 weeks in a dry, shaded, well-ventilated space before storage. Why it's on this list? Garlic is one of the highest value crops per square foot in the home garden. The price at the store is not coming down. Your cost to grow it is almost zero. That math only points one direction. Garlic grows in every climate in North America and stores for months. But the next crop on this list is the one that has seen prices rise faster than almost any other food item in the last 5 years, and most people have no idea how easy it is to grow. Number 9. Dried beans, the calorie crop that's inflation-proof. Beans used to be the cheap option, the fallback, the food that stretched a meal when money was tight. That era is ending. Dried bean prices have risen 40 to 60% in the last 3 years, depending on variety and region. Black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, the staple protein of millions of American households is quietly getting more expensive every season. And yet, beans are one of the simplest crops in the garden. Here's the math. 1 pound of dried bean seed costs $3 to $5 and plants a 25-foot row. That 25-foot row produces 3 to 5 pounds of dried beans at harvest. Those 3 to 5 pounds replace $6 to $10 of grocery store product from seed that costs a fraction of that. And beans are 100% self-seeding. Save your own seed every year, forever, at zero cost. Pole varieties, like Kentucky Wonder or Rattlesnake pole bean, climb a simple trellis and produce 3 to 4 times more per square foot than bush varieties. For small spaces, pole beans are the practical choice. Bush varieties, like Jacob's Cattle or Calypso, are lower maintenance, no trellis required, and can be planted in dense beds for maximum calorie production per square foot. The key with dried beans is patience. You are not harvesting green beans here. You leave the pods on the plant until the beans inside are fully mature and dry, usually after the first light frost when the plant has completely died back. Pull the whole plant, hang it upside down in a dry, ventilated space, and shell the beans when fully dry. Beans also fix nitrogen into your soil through their root nodules, the same way the Siberian pea shrub does. They're not just feeding you, they're feeding your garden for next season's crops. Why it's on this list? Dried beans are the most calorie-dense crop you can grow in a standard garden bed. They store for years without refrigeration. They get more expensive every season, and they improve your soil while they produce. There is no reason not to be growing them. Dried beans protect you from calorie inflation, but the next crop on this list is the one that will protect you when produce prices spike the hardest, because it stores for months without refrigeration and gets more valuable every year. Sprout number 6, potatoes, the calorie backbone of the home garden. Potatoes are the most calorie-dense vegetable crop per square foot that most home gardeners can produce, and the price of potatoes at the store has risen steadily for 3 consecutive years. Here's the return on investment. 1 pound of seed potato, which costs $3 to $5, plants a 10-foot row and yields 8 to 15 pounds of potatoes at harvest. That is a 10 to 15 times return on your seed investment. From 20 pounds of seed potatoes, roughly $30 worth, a serious home gardener can produce 200 to 300 pounds of potatoes in a single season. That is months of staple calories from one crop at a fraction of what the store charges. Varieties matter. For long-term storage, grow Kennebec, Elba, or Russet Burbank, all thick-skinned varieties that cure well and keep for 6 to 9 months in a cool, dark, humid storage space. For fresh summer eating, Yukon Gold and Red Pontiac are excellent. For maximizing calorie density per square foot, russet varieties consistently outperform others. Growing notes. Cut seed potatoes so each piece has 1 to 2 eyes. Let the cut surfaces dry for 24 to 48 hours before planting. This reduces rot. Plant 4 inches deep, 12 inches apart, in rows 2 to 3 feet apart. Hill soil around the base of the plants as they grow. This is not optional. Unhilled potatoes turn green and become mildly toxic from solanine exposure to light. Hill twice through the season, drawing soil up around the stems to 6 to 8 inches each time. Harvest after the vines die back naturally in late summer. Cure in a cool, dark, humid location for 2 weeks before long-term storage. Save your own seed potatoes every year by setting aside the most uniform, disease-free tubers from each harvest. After a few seasons, your saved seed is adapted to your specific soil conditions and performs better than purchased seed. Why it's on this list? Potatoes are the calorie backbone of the home garden. When grain prices rise and meat becomes expensive, starchy calories become critical. Potatoes provide them, cheaply, reliably, from your own ground, in quantities that make a real difference to your grocery bill. Potatoes protect your calorie supply, but the next crop on this list is one that almost every American uses every single day, and growing it yourself will permanently eliminate a recurring grocery expense. Sprout number 5. Herbs, the $6 per bunch category you never need to buy again. Stop for a second and think about how often you buy fresh herbs. Basil for pasta, cilantro for tacos, rosemary for roasting, thyme for soups, parsley for everything. Now think about what that costs per year, because the average American household spends $200 to $400 annually on fresh and dried herbs, often without ever tracking it because it happens $4 and $6 at a time. Here's the reality. Most of those herbs grow effortlessly in a garden bed, a collection of containers on a patio, or even a windowsill in a south-facing window. Once established, perennial herbs, rosemary, thyme, oregano, sage, chives, mint, produce continuously for years without replanting, without fertilizing, without any significant care. The perennial herbs are the ones that pay you back permanently. Rosemary grows into a shrub 4 to 6 feet across in zones 7 and warmer. One plant produces more rosemary than most families can use in a lifetime. Oregano spreads aggressively and produces so abundantly you will be drying it for winter use within the first season. Thyme carpets the ground, tolerates foot traffic, and is virtually indestructible in zones 4 and warmer. Sage grows into a woody perennial that produces from spring through fall without complaint. The annual herbs require replanting each season, but grow so fast and so productively that the investment is minimal. Basil, which sells for $6 a bunch at most grocery stores, can be grown to a massive multi-branching plant from $1 worth of seed. Cilantro bolts to seed quickly in heat, but self-sows aggressively if you let it. One spring planting becomes a continuous, self-renewing patch. Dill behaves the same way. Why it's on this list? Herbs are the highest value per square foot category in the grocery store. The markup between what it costs to grow them and what the store charges for them is enormous. Eliminating this one category from your grocery bill permanently is one of the fastest wins available to any home gardener. Herbs eliminate a permanent recurring grocery expense, but the next crop on this list is one that has tripled in price in certain markets, and growing it yourself is one of the most satisfying food projects in the home garden. Sprout number 4. Tomatoes, the $4 per pound crop that grows everywhere. The average American spends $80 to $150 on tomatoes, and the tomato is one of the crops where the gap between what you buy at the store and what you grow yourself is the largest of any vegetable. Grocery store tomatoes are bred for shelf life and shipping durability. They are picked green, gassed with ethylene to turn red, and reach your plate having never fully ripened on the vine. The flavor is a pale shadow of what a tomato actually is. A vine-ripened heirloom tomato grown in your own soil is a completely different food. Here is the production math. One healthy, indeterminate tomato plant, Brandywine, Cherokee Purple, Sun Gold cherry tomato, produces 10 to 20 pounds of fruit over the course of a season with proper care. At $4 to $6 per pound for comparable quality at a farmer's market, that is $40 to $120 of food value from a single plant that cost $3 as a transplant. Grow 6 plants and you have a tomato supply that feeds your family fresh all summer and leaves enough to can, freeze, or dehydrate for winter sauce. Saving your own seed potatoes is where tomatoes become truly inflation-proof. Open-pollinated and heirloom varieties, unlike hybrids, produce seeds that grow true to the parent plant. Save seeds from your best-tasting fruit each season, dry them on a paper towel, and store in a cool, dry location. You will never buy tomato seed or transplants again. Growing notes. Tomatoes need full sun, minimum 8 hours per day. They need consistent moisture. Inconsistent watering causes blossom end rot and fruit cracking. They need support, cage, stake, or trellis before the plant gets large, and they need warmth. Do not transplant outdoors until nighttime temperatures are consistently above 50 degrees. Why it's on this list? Tomatoes are the single crop that most dramatically demonstrates the gap between what you pay at the store and what you can produce at home. The quality difference is enormous. The cost difference is enormous. And once you're saving seed, the ongoing cost is essentially zero. Tomatoes are the single dramatic demonstration of what home growing can do. But the next crop on this list is one that will protect your food budget through the months when your garden is not producing, and it requires almost no space. Sprout number 3. Egyptian walking onions, the self-propagating allium that never runs out. Onions and garlic are now among the most inflated produce items in the American grocery store, and most people are buying them every week. Egyptian walking onions solve that permanently. Here's how they work. The plant grows like a regular onion, tall green stalks you can harvest and eat like scallions any time of year. But instead of producing a flower, it sends up a cluster of small bulbils at the top of the stalk. Those bulbils get heavy. The stalk bends over and touches the ground. The bulbils root. New plants grow. The onion literally walks across your garden and replants itself. You plant once, you have a permanent self-renewing onion patch for the rest of your life. The green tops are edible year-round. In mild climates, they push new growth even in winter. The underground bulbs can be harvested in fall and used like shallots. The bulbils at the top can be harvested in late summer and used whole, pickled, or replanted to expand your patch. Walking onions are cold-hardy to Zone 3. They tolerate poor soil, drought, partial shade, and serious neglect. There's almost nothing that kills an established patch. The survival advantage here goes beyond just the food. In a scenario where you can't get to a store, weather event, supply disruption, illness, having a permanent patch of alliums 10 feet from your back door means you always have fresh flavor and immune-supporting compounds available. No purchase required, no planning required. The patch is just there. Growing notes. Buy bulblets or small starter plants from a specialty supplier. Plant 4 inches deep, 6 inches apart. Water occasionally the first season. After establishment, they require nothing. Divide the clump every 3 to 4 years to keep the patch vigorous and expanding. Why it's on this list? Walking onions are the ultimate answer to recurring onion and scallion costs. 1 planting, 0 replanting, permanent production. In a world where allium prices keep rising, this is the crop that makes you completely independent of that trend. Walking onions produce permanently without any replanting. But the next crop on this list is one that most serious home gardeners consider the single most important perennial food crop they ever planted, and it pays you back for 20 years from one investment. Number 2. Asparagus, the 20-year return on investment. Asparagus is at $5 to $8 per pound at most grocery stores right now, and it has been climbing steadily. Fresh asparagus in early spring, before the domestic season peaks, regularly hits $9 to $12 per pound at premium retailers. An established asparagus bed produces 10 to 20 pounds of spears per year. At $6 per pound, that is $60 to $120 of food value annually from a bed you planted once years ago that now requires almost no work whatsoever. Here's the investment timeline. Year 1, plant crowns, let the plant establish, do not harvest. Year 2, light harvest only, a few spears per plant. Year 3, full production begins and does not stop for the next 15 to 25 years. That initial patience is the only price you pay. After year 3, asparagus is the most passive crop in the garden. It pushes up every spring before almost anything else is growing. You snap spears for 6 to 8 weeks. You let the remaining fronds grow into tall, feathery foliage through summer to recharge the roots. You cut it back in fall. That is the entire annual workload. Varieties. Jersey Night and Jersey Supreme are the standard high-yield recommendations for most of the United States. Both are all-male varieties that produce no seeds, diverting all energy into spear production. Purple Passion produces thicker, sweeter spears and is highly ornamental. Growing notes. Asparagus needs deep, well-drained soil. It will not tolerate waterlogged roots. Dig a trench 12 inches deep, work in compost, plant crowns 12 to 18 inches apart with roots spread wide, cover with 2 inches of soil, and gradually fill the trench as plants grow. Mulch heavily every fall. The bed you plant this spring will still be producing for someone, possibly your children, in 2045. Why it's on this list. Asparagus is the highest long-term return on investment of any crop in the home garden. The price at the store is not going down. The cost to maintain an established bed is essentially zero. And every spring, when those first spears push up through cold soil before anything else is alive, you will understand exactly why this crop belongs on every piece of ground in America. Asparagus pays you back for 20 years. But the crop at number 1 on this list is the one that protects your food budget in the most immediate, dramatic, and permanent way, and it costs almost nothing to start.